When my family and little sister left the house to attend a birthday party, I found myself alone at home. Usually, I enjoyed being alone. I could play games and be as loud as I wanted. However, during these past 2 hours, I got so bored that I went out to the terrace for some fresh air and started contemplating the deeper meanings of life. Right at that moment, I heard a sound as if something was hitting the door, or at least I thought so. Curious, I went downstairs to check, but surprisingly, there was no one. Of course, I thought it might be a gentle breeze or something playing tricks on me, and I went back inside. However, I then noticed that the window in the kitchen was open. I thought I might have accidentally left the window open, but I remember closing it before. This situation gave me the impression that there was something peculiar in my usually enjoyable home alone time. I went back inside, but then I saw a movement out of the corner of my eye like a faint shadow. I dismissed it, thinking it was just the play of light. But here's where it gets weird. Over the next few days, I started noticing small objects moving or disappearing. At first, I thought it was just due to my forgetfulness, but then I began to hear faint but distinct conversations at night. One evening, as I was hanging out in the living room, I saw a figure in the corridor from the corner of my eye. My heart was racing. I investigated, but there was no one. Maybe I just had an overly active imagination, right? However, the conversations continued, becoming more pronounced and persistent. Then came that night when I woke up to find the kitchen window open again. I know I closed it, I'm sure of it. I realized there was something or someone playing with me, something or someone in the house with me. Every creak, every unexpected sound made me paranoid. I questioned my sanity, wondering if I was just sleep-deprived or if there was a real, tangible presence in my home. I locked every door, closed every window, but the whispers persisted. One night, when I heard the definite sound of approaching footsteps in my room, we reached a dead end. Fear gripped me, and I prepared myself for whatever was about to happen. But when I turned on the lights and faced the empty hallway, the footsteps disappeared, leaving me in frozen silence. Until today, I can't explain what happened on those nights. I moved out of that house, but the memories linger like an indelible ghost, reminding me that sometimes the most frightening things are those we can't see or understand. It was just a regular Tuesday night. I had settled into bed, scrolling through my phone, when suddenly I heard a noise downstairs. At first, I dismissed it as creaky floorboards or the house settling. But as I strained my ears, it became apparent that there were muffled voices and furtive movements echoing through the darkness below. Cautiously, I grabbed my phone and tiptoed to my bedroom door, trying to make out what was happening. I could see shadows moving through the faint glow of the hallway nightlight. Panic set in when I realized I was not alone. Someone had broken into my house. I immediately dialed 911, hiding in my bedroom closet as I whispered my address to the operator. The tension in the air was palpable as I strained to hear what the intruders were saying. The fear escalated when their voices became clearer, and it was evident they were there for more than just a quick theft. The chilling realization hit me when they started discussing their plan. They knew I was home, and they weren't afraid to use force. My heart pounded in my chest as they approached my bedroom. I could hear their hushed voices growing louder, their footsteps echoing ominously in the empty hallway. Suddenly, the door swung open, revealing two masked figures with menacing eyes. One of them held a knife, glinting ominously in the dim light. My breath caught in my throat as they demanded money and valuables. I fumbled to comply, my hands shaking uncontrollably as I handed over everything I had, but that wasn't enough for them. The atmosphere grew more hostile as they cornered me, their threatening gestures escalating. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead as they began to taunt and menace me, the knife never leaving their grasp. It was a nightmare playing out in my own home, and there was nowhere to run. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the distant wail of sirens pierced through the tension. The burglars froze, panic replacing the arrogance in their eyes. The police were closing in, responding to my desperate call for help. Time stood still as the intruders weighed their options, realizing they were trapped. In a desperate bid for escape, they made a run for it, disappearing into the night just as the police arrived. I was left shaken, alone, but alive. The officers searched the area but couldn't find the perpetrators. The sense of violation and fear lingered long after they left, leaving me to pick up the pieces of that traumatic night. It was a typical Friday evening. I found myself home alone, cozy on the couch with a good book. The soft glow of the lamp cast a warm atmosphere in the living room, and the familiar creaks of the old house were oddly comforting. Little did I know, this night would change the way I looked at everything. As I was deeply engrossed in my book, I began to sense something off. A subtle shift in the atmosphere, you know. It wasn't like in the movies where the tension builds with eerie music. It was more like the room itself was holding its breath. I dismissed it at first, blaming it on my overactive imagination. Hours passed, and the unease persisted. I decided to shake it off and headed to the kitchen for a snack. That's when I saw it, a shadow in the hallway, fleeting and barely noticeable. I froze, my heart pounding. It wasn't a trick of the light. There was someone, or something, there. Curiosity and fear battled within me as I cautiously approached the hallway. I called out, thinking maybe a family member had arrived home early. No response. The unsettling silence hung in the air, broken only by the soft hum of the refrigerator. I reached the hallway, and there it was again, a dark figure at the end, almost blending with the shadows. My breath caught in my throat as I strained to see. The figure seemed to sway slightly, as if contemplating its next move. The suspense built slowly, each second feeling like an eternity. I hesitated, debating whether to confront it or retreat to the safety of my room. As I took a step forward, the figure abruptly vanished, leaving behind an inexplicable chill. I stood there, heart racing, questioning my sanity. Was it a trick of the light? Maybe exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. I tried to shake it off and return to my book, but the once comforting creaks of the house now felt like a haunting melody. Days passed, and I couldn't shake the memory. I questioned my perception, considered logical explanations, but nothing seemed to fit. The feeling of being watched lingered, a ghostly presence that refused to fade.